Welcome to the live stream. We're doing another plan with me, but we are actually gonna talk about economics while I fill in my planner, which I feel like is the chillest way to just address the fact that we had some massive market corrections come last week. I know a lot of people are kind of freaked out about what happened to stock markets last week. And my goal is by the end of today, you're not freaked out anymore because I really don't think that we need to be freaked out about the corrections that happen in the markets. It's obviously, if you are very close to retirement age, then it's something you might be more concerned about, but hopefully you have very little of your portfolio at that point in the equities market, and then hopefully the crash does not stress you out. So, and crash is also, I think, what a lot of the media has been kind of describing what happened in the stock markets last week as. We're describing it as a crash, and realistically, I'm not even sure it was a crash because that it was a correction, but I'm not going to say that it was by so much that we should call it a crash. So, we also have a donut today, which actually we could just use the overhead cam for this if we want. So this donut is a Pop-Tart flavored donut, but my parents came by, which my mom is actually in the chat, and they also brought way more vegan goodies than I can realistically eat. This is an awful lot of frosting. I probably won't be able to eat it, but it is extremely pretty. And then this is like a thumbprint cookie, I guess. So anyway, we've got a donut and we have other pastries. This is really like, we do a little aesthetic flat lay here. Look at this. It looks like an Instagram where you're like, I'm not entirely sure why all those things are combined there. But we've got a lot going on as far as foods to eat. But I will talk a little bit about macroeconomics while we do the live stream. How are folks doing? I feel like I say this every week, but I really did the least on promotion for this live stream. I just didn't really know what I wanted to talk about. I was considering discussing the all of the stuff that came out in Britney Spears' court hearing this week, but honestly, I need to dive like way deeper into that. So I have driven really deep into it, but there's just a lot that isn't available yet. But the court documents from Britney Spears' case were wild, and I actually think it deserves entirely its own live stream. But I want to make sure everything's locked up in what I say because there are litigious people involved in Britney Spears conservatorships that love to send cease and desists. But I think that there is some very interesting financial stuff that's coming out. Essentially, a massive scam appears to have been run off Britney Spears' finances for years while she was in the conservatorship. And her lawyer hired a former FBI investigator that now works for a private consulting firm to comb through all of this stuff. And that FBI investigator found, just heaps of stuff in the prior accounting, like down to like her dad buying properties with conservatorship money and then buy at like really crazy low rates and then selling them at a loss to the conservatorship to other people and then holding onto them for 3 years so that he could avoid long-term avoid capital gains taxes on selling them again, and then selling them for like 5 to 10 times the profit. And this is someone who was supposed to be her fiduciary. So anyway, it was just very, very fascinating about a lot of what is going on. Kenna asks, did you see the Folding Ideas NFT/crypto video? No, I should look it up. I don't know what Folding Ideas is. Is this a channel I should be watching? I mostly have avoided a lot of the crypto stuff, but I think what is actually going to be our topic next week, if it is not Britney Spears, I want to be careful about what I say so they don't, the trolls don't come find this chat if I spend too long on it and then it pops up on the YouTube front page or something. But I have become extremely fascinated by the world of astrology, new age interfacing with crypto, because there's essentially this entire kind of genre of content creators that use astrology to convince people to buy crypto. And it's very much a rebranding of crypto. It's sort of like how diet culture has been rebranded as self-care and lifestyle content. I think that there is a lot to be said for, like, they tapped out the bro market with the NFTs and they had to reach a new demographic. And a lot of what there is some fascinating stuff out there, but I do want to make sure I tread carefully with that because, one, I know as soon as I put anything in reference to crypto, Bitcoin, NFTs in the title of these, we are fighting a uphill battle. But it is very, very fascinating to see what, it's very fascinating to see how this is entirely being repackaged. Fuzzbubble says, what? New age crypto? Yes, 100%. Like, literally, there are blogs and YouTube channels and accounts entirely devoted to the idea of essentially betting short on fiat currency, so to speak, or the US currency, based on the birth date of US currency's astrological chart. I am not making this up. It is so rich. It really should be a standalone video instead of a live stream. I think people are going to have a lot of questions. But yes, I'm very interested to talk about it. So yeah. Kenneth says it's nice and boring and hype free. Oh, that's great. Okay, so folding ideas. I'll look for it. I definitely am familiar with the whole crypto NFT situation from both a macroeconomics perspective and, unfortunately, someone who's in the finance influencer space. It's like a really gross term to come out of my mouth, but I do get a lot of pitches, and I have for like 6 years to engage with that, and I've watched it kind of boom up, and there's a reason I have not done content on it, because I didn't want to dive into that space, because a lot of really unpleasant comment sections come out of that. So Maggie in DeWood says, hating the rebrand of diet into wellness is my favorite hobby right now. I mean, yeah. So but I think that is largely what's happened with using astrology to now sell people on the idea that buying Bitcoin through certain kinds of crypto wallets is equal to dollar cost averaging a hedged bet against the US currency. I can't even, like, I can't say it with a straight face. So clearly, yeah. The video is 2 hours long. Okay. Is it a YouTube video? Are we going to link to it in the comments? If it does get linked to in the comments, I haven't watched it yet, so I'm not necessarily recommending it, but it seems like a lot of smart people in here would recommend it. Lil Divet says, I finally caught live from the beginning. Hey, welcome. Thank you for joining. I mean, we really just vamp for quite a while. So yeah, we are going to talk about macroeconomics. We are not going to dive into the astrology NFTs any farther today, but I mean, there is good stuff there, and I think it's really fascinating because there's a lot of stuff that isn't black or white. I think it's really easy to hate on crypto. I think that there's some value in some of the tools and assets that the cryptocurrency space is bringing in, as well as, like, you know, it's been a blessing and a curse the past 2 years as far as people's interest in currency vehicles, in macroeconomics, in stock markets has been really high, and that is often true during a recession. It's also true when we have high unemployment because people are looking for ways to make money that is not in traditional employment. But it's great. It's great to see people want to get educated. And I also think that pushing pushing traditional banking institutions and currencies to think about the structure of their currencies, to think about the way that they do things like quantitative easing, which is going to come up today, and just like generally people out there caring about what equity markets are and being interested in, oh, what are these meme stocks? Like that all has been very fascinating to me, but it's also ripe for a lot of people getting caught up in scams, essentially a new way to gamble, a much less regulated way to gamble that has, frankly, far fewer resources out there for people that are experiencing addiction, that are essentially gambling using NFTs and cryptos. And there's also a lot of very toxic culture, and there's ups and downs. There's also a lot of people very convinced that this is a safe alternative to, currencies backed by governments. And I understand why faith in government has been shooken in the past couple years. So I get it. I understand. I love the idea that people are understanding the concept of floating exchange rates and currencies vis-a-vis other currencies and what gives currencies value. Like, that is great. What I don't like is people thinking that crypto is more safe or secure than, oh, never mind. We should just take a break. I don't want to get into this. I'm already like, I feel like their little ears are out there on the YouTube, and they're waiting for the 5 minutes off on the subscriber mode. And then I'm gonna end up with a bunch of people in chat. Bcore Make Stuff says, Dan Olson does long videos, but it's good. And most of his videos are real good. That is great. I'm excited to watch that. So yes, we will be dealing with it. But this actually came by request of, I believe, Diapzone on the forums wanted me to talk about kind of some of the stuff that has been coming out after the market corrections last week about super bubbles and why equities, which is equities, if you don't know, are stocks, why equities were just so high over the past year and a half. And what it means now that they're crashing. Like, are we headed for the Great Depression again? And I want you to just not worry. So I'm going to hopefully be able to explain it to you. And we're going to do it while we look at my planner, because I think that that's where all my views come from anyway. I'm secretly really just turning into a YouTube planner channel, but I'm trying to ease you in by including the economics in it. This is my hobonichi cousin, by the way. This is this current week. We're right here in the week. So what I have been doing this year is I've been utilizing my hobonichi cousin, which has a weekly spread, and then it has daily spreads. And then I also have a second planner, and it feels really intense to have two planners, but I do love this daily layout. So this one is the Jibun Days, and it is a daily planner with a very simple daily layout that has the hours going down the middle, and then you can put a checklist over there and your schedule on the other side. And it has been working extremely well for me. I really think in to-do lists. And I feel like this size is also a little less intimidating for me. But what I've been trying to do is I've been trying to separate my work and studying into this planner. And then this one is more about like time tracking. And I do need the weekly view, but it's more kind of about personal life and skating and other things. And I'm letting myself have blank pages, which is really challenging for me. But I'm also letting myself just paste anything in there. Like, I got a postcard from my friend Lucy Bellwood, and I pasted it in there because one thing I end up with is just drawers full of like letters and correspondence. So I've really cut down on doing my to-do lists, because mainly having a to-do list in here and in here, if I've got this open on my desk all day, I don't really need the to-do list in here. So I'm not much of a journaler by hand. This is a Patreon letter from Sarah Merck that had like a cool little fortune teller for picking your dinner on it, which is something I need in my life. And then just like other random things. I took some notes of I am currently studying for my Series 65 licensing exam. And so the way that I've been studying, I've actually been using this new tool, which I'm considering doing a review of on my channel. Like, studying has changed so much since I left college 9 years ago. And I have been finding some very cool tools, but I feel like the study world is really over, like, I don't know. I'm thinking about doing a review of it because I'm using this essentially this app that lets you make spaced repetition note cards within your flashcards within your notes. So you can take notes and then just quickly make flashcards and then practice them on spaced repetition. But anyway, I've been taking some of my notes in here, but I am by no means like a beautiful study. I mean, there's people with entire Instagram accounts with like 1 million followers that all they do is make beautiful notes, and I am clearly not in that category. And then the other thing, when I kind of leaned into that, I decided when it comes to tracking stuff for my business, they all go in my monthly overview here. So I'm actually using this to keep track of as I go through the different units in my prep course for the exam I'm taking. But then this is just, every night before I go to bed, I write what the best thing of the day is in my little time tracking. I use this little app called Reporter. I used to use it to randomly ping me, but for, I don't know, 10 years now, have put what the best thing of the day is in here at the end of the day. And I have now been kind of transferring that. It won't always necessarily be the best thing, but it'll be like the most memorable thing in here. So this is, and then one thing that I've always struggled with keeping up with is tracking television and movies. Like, I've tried to do it on my phone, and I track a lot of stuff. Like, I have a lot of systems set up for that, but I have really struggled with being able to track that. And I realized, like, this is a great place to do it. I don't go through shows that fast. So being able to just track, like, what the programs I was watching. One thing I want to do is I want to add what seasons I was watching, because I'm watching a lot of very old seasons. All of these actually are old shows that I'm watching, except Queer Eye is the only one that actually came out this month. And so I'd like to do that, but when I was filling that out, I didn't have that. By the way, if you want some very pretty silly Russian rom-com movie, there's a movie called Silver Skates. It is a Russian Netflix original. It does have dubbed English. And it is the only full movie I've watched this month. That also took me like a while to get through, but it is lush. A couple of the reviews I read said it's about a half an hour too long, and I would say I agree with that. It's massively budget, and it takes place in 1900 St. Petersburg, Russia. And so just imagine historical costuming on ice skates. And they have like a car chase scene, essentially, but on the canals of St. Petersburg through a market in historical clothing. It's very hard to describe. There's like, it's like a thief that falls in love with an aristocrat in pre-revolution Russia. The pickpocket is a pickpocket on ice skates, and he lives in a pirate ship with other, communist pickpockets. I can't even begin to get into it. It's like the most, but it's very high budget, so it's very beautiful. Ash says, if this has been mentioned before, how much time daily, weekly do you spend filling out your planners? Well, I track all my time, so I can tell you. It's not as much as you might think. The actual, to-do lists that I do every morning when I sit down actually don't take me terribly long. I sit down, and most mornings, let's see, how long I spent last week. So usually I'll sit down at 7:30 or 8 when I start work for the day. Yeah, usually I take about 14 minutes to fill out to-dos. And then if there's anything from the previous day that isn't already filled out time-wise, if I quite often I don't fill out the end of the day time stuff because I'm not sitting at my desk. These just sit at my desk all day. I don't like bring these around. I don't go anywhere except the rink, and I'm not bringing these to the rink. I don't have any reason to bring them to the rink. And then I do catch up on this, I would say maybe half an hour a week, but I guess you'll see. And then the week out there, yeah. Lol, I knew you tracked it. I mean, I track all my time, so I track all my work time. Cheryl says chase on skates. Yeah, I can't even, we would get copyright claimed if I tried to like throw it in there, but I'm just saying, if you need something beautiful but not particularly brilliant, Silver Skates is where it's at. It's beautiful historical costuming. I mean, St. Petersburg is a beautiful city, and it was like shot on location. It was essentially like what happens if a very ambitious Russian director wanted to make a extremely Russian film, and then like. So Cheryl says pirate ship or canal kind of boat. It's like a pirate ship located in the frozen sea. I can't really begin to describe. Anyway, it's called Silver Skates. You can find it on Netflix. It's dubbed into, you can watch it in the original Russian, or you can watch it dubbed into Portuguese, Russian, English, and I think maybe French is the other one that it's dubbed into. So depending on whether you want dubbed or not. Lots of people are complimenting the messy functional planning. It is beautiful and helpful. I will say, if all things were equal, my ideal situation would be that these daily pages didn't exist. I love the hobonichi. I love the hobonichi weekly layout, but I am so sold on this little daily thing, and that's all I really need. I'm finding myself a little stressed trying to keep up with this, and I think it'll be nice once it's really, like, it's already nice to flip through and be like, oh, now I will, see the postcards I got from my friends and stuff. But, yeah, I really only care about like this view and that view and yeah, whatever. But it is good for taking notes because I can go back and reference these notes, but almost all the stuff has been turned into flashcards. Fuzzbubble says, is this wild movie appropriate for kids? That's an interesting question. I feel like it is, but I'm trying to remember if there was any, like, I think all the, like, romance is, like, closed door. It might not be. I'm now thinking, I think that there was, like, I mean, it takes place in 1900, so obviously everything was very chaste. But then I think there may have been a slightly sexy scene towards the end, which is kind of a bummer because I think otherwise it would be really great for kids. Yeah. Rural says, Hans Brinker in the Silver Skates is a charming book from the late 1800s based on a classic children's story. The film may be referencing it loosely. That is correct. It is actually based on the book, but they definitely adapted it quite a lot. Fuzzbubble says, my 13-year-old niece is super into skating. I think it's pretty close to appropriate for a 13-year-old. It's right on the edge. It also depends. Obviously, all 13-year-olds are different. I think it's probably PG-13, but I was thinking and I was like, could it actually be PG? But it isn't because of the end stuff. Also, I think there may be a little too much violence. It's like they set a ship on fire. So let's see if it got a rating. It might not have gotten a rating because it was a Russian Netflix movie. Just searching to see. I don't know why it only has a 33% on Rotten Tomatoes. I think if you're expecting it to be a critical masterpiece, you are not going to love it. If you are looking for something absolutely beautiful where the plot is not very complicated, then great. Also, like, the main character is like an aristocrat's daughter, but at the time, women couldn't go into higher education in Russia. And it was like her dream was to be a chemist. So she decided to like run away to France to go study chemistry. Yeah, what is it rated? Oh, it's not. It doesn't have an MPAA rating because it was Netflix, unfortunately. Lil Devet says, the original jibun Techo is a vertical weeklies only planner in the same B6 slim size. Would pair nicely with the dailies. Yeah, I thought about that, but I used to use a jibun Techo. I have one back here. So I used to use a jibun Techo weekly. The Biz, though, because I actually picked it up when I was in Japan. And I don't love their layout, but I did also use it. I know they've done a redesign, and I think they've changed the fonts and stuff like that. I like a lot of things about the hobonichi. I like how much more open it is rather than kind of prescriptive. And I also think that this would want me to track like this, I don't know, the same things into place. It's okay. I'm gonna stick. I have 2 planners. That seems like enough, so I'm probably just gonna stick with what I have. That's the other problem that I kind of run into is that I like the A5 size for the weeklies, but then I don't need that much space for a daily. One thing I was thinking about is I know they make a weekly supplement for the Hobonichi Techo that is in the smaller size that I can maybe like slide into the front that just has the weeklies and maybe just use this. But I honestly feel like this wouldn't be enough space if it was my only planner. I don't know. But yeah, I'm going to stick with what I got. Should we plan for next week while we talk about the market crash? Let's do it. Let's go for it. Okay. First question is, what is the theme of the week gonna be? What is my washi tape of the week? Should I use a cat washi tape, Erin? Should I use your space cat, or should I use this tea washi tape? I've got these like cute little, this is from the Coffee Monster Co. Pixie Dust says, hi, I am late. I mean, you can come whenever you like. Also, you just got over us talking quite a lot about totally silly stuff. So we could do this along the bottom. We could go, I did this one last week, so let's not do that one last week. Also, I have this amazing Hello Kitty washi tape that I got in Japan that's like a Hello Kitty train. But it is not great washi tape. Like, it's really, really hard to peel off a continuous strip. So I don't really want to use it on the bottom. Where's the Space Cat washi tape? Let's see. I like the little autumn critters so much, but I think that they're not seasonally appropriate, really. Yeah, it's like a wild berry vegan Pop-Tart donut. Should I use the Space Cat? This is the Space Cat washi tape. What do we think? I think we're gonna go with Space Cat. Aaron got it out. This was actually Aaron's birthday present, but he's not gonna use all this washi tape. All right, so what happened in the markets last week? Well, essentially, the thing to understand is that markets in general and assets in general have been on a massive, massive increase in the United States, but also worldwide in the past 2 years. And the reason for that, which is we talked about a lot on the inflation live stream, is because there's been a lot of trying to pump money into the economy to prevent, human suffering. So the fact that the big thing is that when you are trying to keep inflation low, you will raise interest rates. When you raise interest rates, you being the Fed, because you are the Federal Reserve in this case, the Federal Reserve, by the way, is who is responsible for dealing with inflation. I know there's a lot of people that like to blame the executive branch or Congress or whatever your whatever your decision-making power is, but it is actually your central bank that is tasked with inflation. And that is because it has to do with the monetary supply. So fiscal policy, which is what everybody gets angry about and we spend a lot of time focusing on, is when legislators make decisions about balancing the budget. So the president submits the budget to Congress and Congress approves it in the United States. It is different in different parts of the world, but the central bank is actually a separate. Which of these matches better? There's this little purple to do. So we are going to put the to do like way more down here. So problem I had last week is I topped out my studying graph at 4, but I ended up studying like 7 hours one day, and I actually need to be studying about that much right now. So I need this studying thing to be way higher. Now, do I want to do a little days of the week at the top here? Again, I feel like it doesn't match as well. Yeah. We could do a different washi tape. Let's see if I have a washi tape, like a thinner one that kind of matches. Does that match? Nope, it does not match. Cheryl says, wait, I could be buying washi tapes for Erin too. I mean, Erin doesn't use them nearly as enthusiastically as me, so, you know, bear that in mind. From Krell's stickers, I have these stickers that are, like, meant to fit in the hobonichi for to-do lists. Yeah. I think they fit a little bit better in the dailies, though. But the, like, box size is the same. Oh, I'm so bad at this. I'm not good at placing stickers. At least these stickers appear to be semi-removable. Oh, there we go. Kind of works. Sorry. So the central bank is who we actually need to blame. And the central bank has 3 tools at their disposal to control interest rates, but also to make sure that the economy is not in free fall. And when we have a massive shock to the economy, like the coronavirus pandemic, there is stuff that needs to happen as far as fiscal policy with policymakers. And then there's also stuff that needs to happen with regards to monetary policy. And the reason that this is important is because monetary policy is what controls inflation rates. So you can blame as much as you possibly want on Congress because they're easy to blame. You can blame as much as you want on your country's diet or parliament or whatever your decision-making body is on the executive or legislative branches. But when it comes to inflation, that actually has far more to do with monetary supply. And there's 3 tools at the disposal of the Federal Reserve, which is the central bank in the United States. But it's also the European Central Bank when it comes to the euro. So the tools that they have at their disposal, wish I had cute lettering skills, but I do not. So we'll do a little lettering, little studying one, and I am going to have to do a very different axis for this one because I really was way off the page last week. So they have 3 things, which, you know what, I can write this down on one of my nice blank pages here. Federal Reserve has these 3 things. They are the bank that banks get money from because they actually print the money. And therefore, one thing that they can do is they set the interest rate that banks borrow from them at what is called the overnight window. So when banks across the country, any bank that works with the Federal Reserve has to have a set of reserve requirements. And reserve requirements are how much money they have to keep in reserve and not be lending out. So the person that sets that is, in fact, the Federal Reserve. And Federal Reserve Chairman Powell is currently our favorite punching bag for this. So reserve requirement. This is the most strict of anything that they do. This is very extreme. If they up the reserve requirement, what happens is it constricts the monetary supply. So if they make this reserve requirement higher, then that means that banks have less money to lend out. If there's less money in the economy, it causes economic stress, but it keeps inflation low. If there's more money in the economy, as soon as you've got more money in the economy, more money is more inflation. More money, more inflation, but it also means more jobs, more lending. And more lending, it sounds like, oh gosh, debt. But lending is how businesses get capital to do investment in new technology. So the more money that we have, we're also going to experience inflation. So the goal of the Federal Reserve is to have a healthy rate of inflation. We expect a certain kind of amount of inflation. There's great debates in the world of monetary economics about what that perfect amount is, but usually they set a target rate, which is between 2 and 4%. However, as we've discussed recently, the inflation for the US economy has been out of control, and y'all know, you've experienced it. You've seen it. We talked about all of your examples of things that you've seen gone up. And some of that inflation that we talked about is actually more to do with supply chains. And as much as we want to yell and argue at the Federal Reserve for how high inflation is right now, a lot of it is actually just weird random bubbles. So, for example, we're seeing these large pings right now going on in, what is this? This is used car prices. And that is because we have a chip shortage. So the chips that they need to essentially make cars, because cars are just like a bazillion computers put together now these days, is the reason that we have a shortage of new cars, which means that used cars have gone way up. So, and then we've also seen some asset pricing in the commodities sector, which is not the same as the equity sector. So commodities are anything you can really think about. So equities are stocks, buying pieces of actual companies. Commodities are things like oil, gas, corn. And commodities are bought not as, you don't normally go out and buy yourself an actual corn. What you would buy yourself is futures, which is kind of a prediction on what the future value would be. And what you're trying to do is buy oil when the rest of the market thinks that it is going to be less expensive, and it's going to be more expensive, and you buy futures and you profit off that, right? So we saw oil go up, but one of the reasons oil has gone up, yes, our supply chain, but some of that actually has to do with geopolitical stuff right now, namely Russia and Ukraine, because Russia is one of the major global suppliers of oil right now, and there are a lot of countries threatening sanctions over what is going on with Ukraine. So Federal Reserve can up the reserve requirement. They haven't been doing that. So what they have been doing is they've been focusing right now on, yes, we are going to accept some inflation, but the reason we're going to accept some inflation is because we are trying to prevent economic hurt, right? We are trying to make sure that there is money out there, that interest rates are set low so that businesses have access to capital, so that banks can lend money. We're going to increase the monetary supply in order to keep the economy kind of propped up on this. So the other thing they do is called open market operations. Open market operations is the buying and selling of bonds on the bond markets. And open market operations is determined by the Open Market Reserve Committee, FOMC, Monetary Committee. And the open market operations is how much bonds they're buying out there. And if they're doing lots of it, what they're doing is they're putting a lot of money into the economy by buying bonds. And then the third very important thing that they do, which you will hear about all the time, is interest rates. So they set the interest rates that banks pay to get money to hit those reserve requirements, because every single night a bank has to settle up with the Federal Reserve to make sure they have enough in their reserves. If they don't have enough in their reserves, to meet the reserve requirements, what they do is they go to the overnight window, which I like to imagine like a McDonald's window. Like, I literally just like to imagine Jay Powell, our little Fed chairman, right here, sort of wearing like a McDonald's headset. And, I mean, he's black, so I'm trying to give him some color, but it doesn't really work, whatever. And, you know, he's just like at this little window, and it's like, get your US Treasury bonds, and then all of the little banks, they drive by and they borrow dollars from the overnight window. I think I'm hilarious, sorry, but we do call it the overnight window. And they set an interest rate that is essentially the interest rate. So the lower the interest rate, that means the more money that is going into the economy. And the reason there's more money going into the economy is because when those interest rates are really low, it means that banks lend to both each other, because banks can go to that overnight window and get directly from the Federal Reserve, but they can also lend to each other. So they're in their little bank cars, bank, and then other bank, and they can go, hey, bank, you know, bank 1 and bank 2. Bank 2 is like, oh crap, my reserve requirement is, man, I need $200 to make my reserve requirement for the night. Can I borrow some money from you, bank 1? And bank 1 goes, sure, I can spot you some money. And they're like, yeah, I'll spot you $200. And I'm going to charge you an interest rate. And the interest rate that they're going to charge is going to usually be influenced by the interest rate that the Federal Reserve is charging. Right now, the Federal Reserve is targeting between 0 and 0.5% interest rate, which is crazy low. Anybody who bought a house in the 80s will tell you when, you know, prime interest rates were in the 8s to the 12%. So it is essentially a drug deal. Maggie in DeWoods Rural says it looks like a drug deal. It is a drug deal. It's like, you know, the banks are just driving around being like, hey, you got like an extra $200,000 for my reserve requirement, and they let them borrow it, and they borrow it overnight. And so what happens is these banks lending to each other is very much influenced by how much the Federal Reserve is charging to lend directly to banks, but it also flows down. So how are those banks making money? Well, they're out there and they're lending money to people like you and me to go buy houses, to buy more bank cars. Doesn't work when I represent all banks as cars. To buy cars, to businesses to build huge towers where they're doing research on how to build vaccines, for example. The banks are lending to all of these people, and the interest rate that they charge, which is called the prime interest rate, is what they charge to large commercial loans. So loans over, say, $1 million, which would be this loan. It would not be you and me buying houses most of the time. So those loans is the prime interest rate, and that prime interest rate flows from there. So it's all sort of this big thing. You love how much planning I'm actually getting done. I'm just marking all of my notes in here. So yeah. I'm not the only one who sees two old guys from Trading Places every time someone mentions futures. I haven't seen Trading Places, but yeah, I'm sure it's been referenced by two old guys. That's what futures is always referenced by. Anyway, so the Federal Reserve is who influences interest rates, and the Federal Reserve likes to do what it calls telegraphing. So if they make moves that are unpredictable, it makes the markets freak out. Markets hate uncertainty. So what the Federal Reserve does is famously, like the press conferences that come from the chairman of the Federal Reserve, or the chairwoman, as was previously true, of the Federal Reserve, if they say a word that seems to imply certain kinds of things, it can move the whole markets. And especially it moves the bond markets first, but then it moves, how everything else is going, including stocks and equity markets. And what is important to understand about this is they telegraph things far, far ahead of time. So what did we see last week? Well, we saw a market correction in stocks. We saw a lot of stocks go down. And the reason we saw stocks go down is because right now we have a lot of stocks that have what is called a high P to E ratio. You don't need to know too much about P to E ratio. It means price, which is the price of the stocks on the market, to earnings per share. So high PE values either mean that the company is not earning a lot of money now, but the market thinks they'll earn a lot of money in the future. So a lot of tech stocks or stocks that are companies that are very growth oriented will have very high PE ratios. The other time that you'll see very high PE ratios is if the market is extremely overvalued. And we've had record-breaking PE ratios, record-breaking PE ratios in the past couple years, because we've really just seen absolutely bananas kind of returns happening out there. So I think that is what is kind of happening, essentially, is that, we have been feeding this economy money. We've been feeding this economy through the really outsized, the fiscal stimulus like we've never seen before, which was to try to prevent, people from dying, and trying to keep small businesses open and get vaccines out and prevent, loss of life when people had to be out of work because of a global pandemic. Is the camera off? It looks black now. Did the upper camera die? We will see. Oh no, does it not have a battery? Or did it just go to sleep? I think it might have gone to sleep because I had a 30-minute time. I'm glad that Fuzzbubble says the visual aids help a lot. I'm glad that my beautiful, I like how that my to-do list is just in the middle of all of my, let's gray that out somehow. Here. I've got a gray mild liner. We'll just keep that in a separate section. Well, said you liked messy planning. There you go. You got some messy planning for you. Anyway, I like that normally I do this on an iPad, and now if I do it, you really just get to see how terrible my handwriting is. But I think it's important to understand that essentially we had seen a lot of stocks get extremely overvalued, and the reason they were getting overvalued was because a couple things. One, there was a flight to growth stocks, because when people start to move into growth, when their expectations are that, that they aren't going to be earning money from bonds. And would they be earning money from bonds when bonds are at 0.5% interest rates? No. So there was a lot of money that moved into the markets. There was also a lot of money that was flowing around out in the economy. That is one of the big reasons I believe that our housing markets had gotten so high, is because, we saw personal spending, personal savings go up so much over the past year. We obviously had very high demand. We also had a lot of inefficiencies happening in the housing market, where we weren't building, so we weren't seeing it be built at the right rate because there are supply chain issues. So Lil Devet says, you need a whiteboard. I know. Well, you know what? I need to use these pages, so might as well use the hobonichi pages. What's funny is my notes from studying are actually relevant to this, because this is me talking about balance sheets for corporations here. But okay, so hey, look, I've got my old notes from the business cycle. I think what's important to understand is that what we are seeing is right now essentially a market correction, but you don't need to freak out if you are anyone under 60 years old. This market blip should not be a thing that freaks you out too much, because we always see these kind of corrections. There's a reason we call them corrections in markets, because yes, things were overvalued. My portfolio, I think my 2021 like portfolio on my just boring index fund portfolio was like 27% return for 2021. That was obviously not sustainable. So the actual corrections that we've seen are really just the market trying to find the right value, because there were a lot of stocks that were overvalued, and, you know, real not nice things happen when we do have to suffer these market corrections. And I do think we are going to see a lot of asset corrections. But I think one exciting thing is that a lot of the things where these assets being really overvalued, real estate market being a great example, those things are actually going to be good because we are going to see some asset corrections. So the real estate market might be coming down over the next year or two. Generally, we see within a year is when these actual, like, when we go from the trough of the trough of the business cycle right here, this trough, we start to move back into the peak within about 183 days. So even if we are really at kind of the bottom of this, if we're starting to come down, it's very likely that the correction is not going to have long-term consequences, and it may actually bring down some of the overvaluation of things that affect our everyday lives. So, you know, as we start to see these corrections, as the Federal Reserve had said, hey, I think we're going to make some tighter monetary policy. So when they were signaling and they were saying, hey, actually, we're going to start tapering out those open market operations that we're going to do. We're probably going to start concluding some of that purchasing that we do on open markets by the end of March. So they said that, and then the markets start to freak out because they see all of these things that kind of happen. Here's the thing. Don't look at your portfolio right now. So don't log into your 401k, and don't like freak out too much. Don't freak out too much. And yes, if you are Craig and you're able to do this, think of it as stocks being on sale. So stocks are starting to get back down to probably the proper value in the market. We're seeing some of those growth stocks that really do rely on a lot of access to capital because they have to borrow a lot of money in order to innovate new technologies and everything. Those stocks are going to start to, you know, chill out a little bit. And right now, that means that you can buy them when they're low and hopefully sell them when they're high. So yeah, we did see a massive correction in Bitcoin, which is proof that it is just another equity security. I mean, what? Sorry, I'm really inviting the trolls down here. Kenneth says, I'm so glad you're going over this. My stocks have been wildly overperforming the last 2 years, and the dip last week spooked me. That 2008 PSD, you know. Yeah, I know. It was hard when I kind of bragged about a net worth goal or hitting a net worth thing right at the end of December there. And then I was like, oh, well, I'm back down under that benchmark. But, you know, it's okay. Kenneth says, just don't buy crypto. I mean, I will not make any specific recommendations, but I will say if you are thinking about buying crypto, I always recommend a diversified portfolio, and please recognize that it is just one asset, one security that you can have, and it carries risk and even greater risk because it really varies quite high. And the ups and downs. So stocks are measured, essentially the ups and downs of stocks are relative to the market of the whole is measured as their beta. And the beta of cryptocurrencies is real high. They are extremely volatile compared to the market as a whole. And so just recognize that if you are choosing to make investments in them. So yeah. Rural says, guess I'll be working a couple more years. Really need it for health insurance anyway. Pooh. Well, yeah, that's the thing that the market corrections seem to have not solved is our mess of housing, our mess of healthcare crisis. Yeah, I mean, the other thing to say is if you're extremely close to retirement, you shouldn't have a lot in equity securities. And as interest rates go up for bonds, as prices essentially fall for bonds, then the interest rates will go up. So if you have more of your portfolio in bonds because you're closer to retirement, hopefully this market correction won't affect you as much because we do start to see that as they try to control what is happening in the rest of the economy and they start to, ease up on the quantitative easing of the Federal Reserve buying things, then guess what happens? Bonds start to provide a little bit more income to your portfolio. And if you structured your portfolio based on when you expect to retire, then you should be in a good class. And for some people, they might find themselves moving towards defensive stocks. So defensive stocks are essentially the kind of stocks that do well during recessions. I don't think we're in any way due in for a recession, but I don't think we're due in for a recession different than what we're experiencing right now because everything's weird about this economy right now. But there's reasons why there are, where was I going with that? I literally just defensive stocks. Defensive stocks are essentially things that you expect to perform well regardless of the economy as a whole. So, consumable products like, tobacco weirdly is a consumable product, the food, energy, those kinds of things. So, yeah. Rural says 2 pensions well funded, so we are higher in equities than most approaching retirement. Oh yeah, I forgot that you've got the sweet government situation going on there. Okay, 0 to. Oh, I hope I can study this much this week. So yeah, does anybody have any questions? Lil Devet says, is this a sit back and wait situation across the board? Or are there any actions, opportunities to leverage anywhere to benefit financially? So the main thing that I don't want you to do is to freak out and pull all your money out of the market because, what do you not want to do in a market? Buy low. You don't want to buy high, sell low, which is, I think, what a lot of people are at risk of doing because they have that 2008 panic, right? But even with the massive, massive issues with the market in 2007, if you had just sat back and waited and maybe even bought when things were at lows, then you would have actually done quite well. So it was mostly people that were really close to retirement or that pensions that were unfortunately invested in some of those subprime mortgages and everything. I mean, the 2007 financial crash was very complex. And way beyond the scope of this plan with me. But I think that if you can stomach it and you're willing to put money in and watch prices go down for a while, but buy things on sale. So, buy equities on sale. I think that's a great reason. You can also move into some of the, things that tend to do well when we see other things do poorly. So gold, and not like don't go buy actual gold bars, but you can buy gold ETFs. Those are one things that you can put into your portfolio too. But I do think that I think the most important thing to do is sit back and wait. Those are always the smartest investors. The smartest investors are a cat that's just sleepy and it just sits there and hangs out. Okay. We've been streaming for an hour, and I did actually talk about economics, but we have clearly not got much planning done. So let's do the planning right now. This week, I have a lot of workshops that I am doing. So I am teaching from 10 to 2:30. I need like a workshop. I don't have really a workshop sticker. That's a bummer. Okay, and then I am teaching a workplace workshop It is workshop season for me. Lots of people want financial stuff in January. Oh, and then Friday is, I think, Breakfast on the Bridges, which will only be our second back because our whole worry about that. So, Aaron says just watching people adjust their 401k allocations live, no big deal. I would do it. Nomlet asks, what pen are you using? I actually really like this one. I use it on my weeklies. It is the Uni Pen 4 Pro waterproof and fade proof, and I believe it is 0.24 apparently. It looks bigger than 0.24 to me, but it says 0.24 on it. I don't know if you can see it any better. I really like it for these pages. Okay, so that's my little studying graph there, and I made it go up to 8 hours. I can't imagine. But then the other thing I want to measure is I've been doing lots of Pomodoros, which I actually call talks from my friends Danny and Bethany that I used to work for at BeMinder. They call them that. So I've been tracking my talks or my Pomodoros in this, but I would actually like to see like how many I've done over the week. I obviously track my time, but I actually just want to figure out, oh, there is a kitten sparkly ball delivery happening here. It is really cute. She has put a sparkly ball in her mouth and meowed and announced she's coming into the office. But now it hasn't made it all the way up to the box, so she's not on camera. Sorry, y'all. Pixie Dust says, I'm retired in 98% stocks. I mean, it has served you well over the past 2 years, but who hasn't stocks in their portfolio served well over the past 2 years? So yeah, I think if you can stomach to buy low, then that's great. How do you think I can track these? I'm like, maybe I can do like little boxes and then I'll color them in. I do enjoy coloring things in. So how many are there? 1, 2, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Okay. 9 times 2 would be 18. 18 times 0.9. I should be able to do this math in my head, but I don't want to. Okay, 16.2. So if I do 50-minute talks, I want to do this many Pomodoros for studying. I don't know if that's the prettiest tracker I've ever done. It's kind of silly looking, but whatever. Ablejack says, I didn't realize the market was down. Just checked. Down 105,000 from last check on December 31st. Roller coaster. Yeah, I just made the intentional decision to not, like, correct any of my, not, like, update any of my things in my main budget because they're all off-budget accounts in YNAB for me. And I just decided, you know, I don't need to do that. Okay. So I have skating class. I have skating class on Wednesday. I'm hoping to skate longer, but last week I just was not feeling up to it. I only stayed half an hour versus like the previous week I stayed there for 3.5 hours. So yeah, this week the big thing that I did was that I did a lot of strategizing. So I was having the problem where the best time for me to go skate is like around noon to 2 from the perspective of when the rink is not too crowded and I can actually get some work done because I go to a rink that's small and because I'm cheap, I mostly skate on the public sessions, which I'm really like too high level for the average public sessions. But if I go during the middle of the day, there's not that many people there. Every hour I skate lowers my marginal cost of skating. So I like to go during this time, but my problem is I'm most functional and up for studying in the morning. So I tend to be really productive from around 7:30 until about 2:30 or 3. But if I study all during that time and then I go skate at 3, it's way too crowded. But if I go to the rink at like noon or so, I won't get any more studying done. And like 5 hours of studying / work is not enough for me with the schedule I have right now. So yeah. All right. So what are my to-dos? I think I put them. There we go. Okay. So I need to get prescription. I finally got pre-authed for my new prescription. So I need to call and get that and pick it up. Edit the video that was filmed. Transcript for show. Prep slides for Thursday. Prep slides for Friday. Oh, I need to plan what I'm doing for Beyond B. So Breakfast on the Bridge is where we serve coffee and donuts to people on the bridge every last Friday of the month. And I think we're doing it. I was wondering if we were going to cancel it. So Cheryl says, are you in a figure skating club? Don't tell the name if yes. Well, there's not that many options in Portland, so me telling the name of the skating club won't really tell you anything. Where I'm from, the skating clubs actually have ice time, and so if you're in a skating club, there'll be like set ice time. But here, the skating clubs don't have ice time really at all. Maybe once a year they do some ice time. That was actually like one of the clubs that I was in Cincinnati. So yeah, they don't rent any time. It's really, really hard to get time at most of the rinks here right now. There's actually a hockey player that's joined our figure skating class on Wednesdays, and she did it. It's like a moves class, like high level edges and stuff. And hockey skates, if you don't know, don't have toe picks, so they're a little harder to do a lot of the moves in. They also don't learn the same terms for stuff. So even the most talented hockey player might not be able to keep up in a figure skating moves class just because it's very specific kind of language. But one of the cool things that happened was this hockey player joined, and she did the whole thing on hockey skates, which I was blown away and extremely impressed that she did that. But she did it because the women's league's ice time is on midnight to 1 a.m. on Sundays. And she was like out in the suburbs, and she was like, I just do not want to skate that late. And so she was like, you know what? I'm going to try to do some figure skating. So I'll put the live stream for next week in there. So the big to-do for tomorrow is release video. Yes, I did say that I would have it up by today's stream. No, I did not. I lied. I'm full of lies. But it's going to happen tomorrow. Okay. Am I missing any other scheduled things? No, I am. Oh, German class. It's like I blocked it out. I don't know if it'll be in person or not, so. And then the study streams, I like to add an erasable pen because I don't always attend them. This week I discovered these like 5-hour-long aesthetic studying streams that are not live, where you just like get to, it's just like watching a dude study, and it has a Pomodoro timer, and then it has like calm fireplace moves, and it totally worked great for me. But these are the study live streams, and I put them in the erasable pen because I don't always attend them. You know what? I'm not even going to put it on Thursday. I'm teaching oh no. Why is my eraser working so poorly? Wow. So much for my erasable pen, huh? I think it got some of the ink in there. Well, there we go. That was super helpful. What can we do to cover that up, y'all? What other things do I need to do? Oh, Snackuary badges. So Snackuary on the forums ends on Monday next week. So I'll probably start handing out badges on Friday, so I'll put that up there. So forum badges, and then I will start mailing them out the following week. We gotta put some color on this, y'all. Hockey player plus figure skating. Are you recreating the cutting edge from 1992? I'll have to ask her if we're... I told her that she needed to watch that. It is such a classic movie. It was like the only figure skating movie for so long, so now there's more. Like this weird Silver Skates one that we were all talking about. I'm probably not going to skate very much this week. I suspect. It's not going to happen. Okay. Do I have anything that will work for a presentation? So, Breakfast on the Bridges, best represented by a donut box, obviously, since that is what we do. For the live stream next week, I am going to... Here, I'll put my stickers on the overhead camera. Oh, does that camera die? Or no, we're just switching between them, I see. Abeljack says, I want my Snackuary badge. I want it first. Well, just make sure you check in first. Also that I just happen to be online. Or Snacky on the forums, who's my mod that does badges with me. So there's a little live stream one. And... we're going to do a meal plan for the week. I did that meal plan last week by just like cribbing stuff from Purple Carrots because they put all their recipes online, which is just one of those meal services, and it totally worked great. It's not that I necessarily stuck with it every single night, but it worked pretty great as like I didn't have to think about what the things were. So I think tomorrow is going to be a cauliflower dish. And then Tuesday is going to be sweet potatoes. What other things do I like to make? What does Purple Carrot say? Oh, not making anything with zucchini. Nope, nope, nope. Blood orange poke bowls. I mean, lemon zucchini noodles sounds nice and easy. That is a zucchini thing I'm willing to do. Calls for miso paste, though. Miso paste is expensive and hard to get in my area. Why don't I have a little... I don't have anything to represent workshops, y'all. I'm gonna have to come back to the meal plan because I can't think of any other. Just gonna put my little skating cat sticker there. And oh yeah, I'm using my little tracker. It's working. It's actually working. And then I'm putting those like little skating icon stickers on my monthly page. I should stop distracting from the cat content, right? Yeah, cat cam is really active today. What do I do about this, y'all? Should I put some washi tape over it? Let's see. What can we do about this? I've got one of these, I've got one of these stickers. I'm just gonna put this here, and then... there we go. It's kind of cute. Kind of works. And... stickers is the solution to all problems. I don't know what to do for workshop, y'all. Oh, I do have these money accounting cats, which is pretty much what I do when I do workshops, is money cats. So yes, I'm going to do 2 money cat workshops. I'm really concerned about how much studying I'm going to get done on. So tomorrow I'm probably going to have to film for the bulk of the day. Go skating kind of midday. So the strategy that we kind of adopted last week, because I was having that fall off in energy if I went skating during the chill times, was when I come home, having immediate snacks for me. And it worked, definitely worked better, but I still get most of my brain work done in the morning. Oh yes, and I need to deal with prescription tomorrow. I have to go pick it up. Well, I have to go order it, it's very complicated. My drug is very complicated, which is what the video that I have coming out tomorrow is about. So maybe a computer icon for presentation. I usually use my little computer icons to symbolize working, though, so I didn't want to... But it is true, they are unfortunately both virtual, which I would really like to get back to doing in-person workshops. My German class moved to virtual as well, and it's actually been in person, but like masks required all year. And they switched 2 weeks ago to being in person when they came back from the winter break, and frankly, sucks. Don't like it. I feel so bad for all the teachers, and I have so much more sympathy for all of these workshops I've been doing that have been online. I just have so much sympathy for like having to attend those workshops, having to keep up any level of interest. I don't know. It's low-key miserable. All right, I've got a This Is Fine Cat sticker, which I'm going to just leave in the planner. I feel like I'm going to need that. And anything else we missed in the planning for next week? Prep for speaking. Prep for speaking, show out video, 28 hours studying, which I represented by the talks. B&B snackuary badges. Yeah. It looks really empty, but it should look like this by the end of the week. I guess I'll pick my colors right now for my actual, like, what the colors, so the colors kind of match. She says as she turns away. No, I need a purple. I can't tell because my light is behind me and it's coloring my... That's sort of a purple. What do we think the other auxiliary color should be? Maybe like a deep blue. Are those too close to each other? Yeah, like a green. I usually need 3 colors to represent like skating, studying, and work. Kind of a light pink. All right. Studying is going to be the biggest one. So skating is going to be probably the... Oh, that looks way too... That's way too electric pink. I have to move this light for a second. I can't see the colors of my... There we go. Is my background still pink? Good. Okay, so I'm going to turn all the Oh My Dollar stuff to be green since they're already like money cats. And live stream. And then skating is going to be blue. And then this will be the color I end up using the most throughout the week, which is the purple. I do have this light purple. Which is closer? Oh, this one's definitely closer to the edge color. All right, donut. Oh, we're doing some donut. So the donut, you know, who is always saying no donuts is Abel Jack, but Abel Jack is a fan of Pop-Tarts, so Do we have donut cam today? Should we do that? But I think the overhead camera is actually better for these. All right, look how beautiful that is with that depth of field. So this is the donut, which I believe has an intro now. Thank you. We've now introduced the donut. Abel Jax is very confusing for me. Yeah, there's like pieces of, if you switch to the overhead cam, there's like pieces of like the Pop-Tart bottom on the basis, and then yeah, it's like raspberry flavored. I think it's actual raspberry, and it's just a regular donut on the bottom. I can't tell if the oh my god is for the intro or if the oh my god is for the donut. We decided to make bumpers to make it easier to timestamp / because we're extra. Okay, I admit, it's hard to eat a donut with just giant chunks on the top. It's been a long time since I've had a Pop-Tart, but this Pop-Tart is something. Okay, the enthusiasm is for both the intro and the donut. The berry flavor is incredible. I would say that this is donut. This is a Pop-Tart in a donut. It's vegan too, which is, a lot of people don't know this, but some Pop-Tart flavors are vegan. Not all of them though. The berry flavor is so rich. It's made with actual berries. So it's kind of like an artisanal Pop-Tart, but it's still like, because berry flavor, when it's concentrated, kind of tastes really artificial anyway. Like, it's so much sugar that it tastes a lot like the high fructose corn syrup world of Pop-Tarts. It actually tastes really accurate. It's just like slightly elevated. I mean, it's obviously way less convenient than a Pop-Tart. Part of Pop-Tarts' beauty is that you can just put them in a toaster. I can't remember who was recently telling me that they didn't know that you put Pop-Tarts in a toaster. They thought they were only eaten like raw, which they're not really raw, they're pre-cooked. But someone recently had one that once it was put in a toaster and it was like a revelation for them. Pixie Dust is pointing out I live incredibly close to the donut shop. It is true, but one, this is a seasonal flavor, and two, I can't like easily pack this donut in a foil container and like take it to the airport or whatever. Cheryl says, I feel like you and your father would only get camping because that was the only time you were allowed Pop-Tarts. Correct. I definitely, all my associations with Pop-Tarts come from the fact that we were only allowed to have them when camping. They're both like unreasonably expensive relative to the amount of food you get out of them, and disguise themselves as though they are a good breakfast option when in fact it's just eating a ton of sugar for breakfast. But I think they're actually like a better dessert, but they've been weirdly effectively marketed as a breakfast. I don't know if we have any other planning to do this week. It looks so empty after all of this. Oh yeah, I still haven't filled that in, but God, I don't know if I can eat the other ones. Oh, donut rating is 5 out of 5. I mean, I think that was a 5 out of 5. It might be a 4.5 out of 5, but we don't have the half donut rating, so. Yeah. Do I need to add anything to this spread? Does anybody else know? I feel like I should make the list for tomorrow. Oh, last week I mentioned these adorable tiny Duolingo stickers. If you don't know, I have like let's see what my current streak on Duolingo is. I have what is it? I have a 1,538 day streak on Duolingo right now. So I obviously can't use these every day, and I still haven't figured out what I want to use them for. But I'm really glad I got them because I love that someone was selling tiny, cute Duolingo stickers. Yes, we do need the half donut shade. This is my Jimbone Days, by the way. I love this thing. It's really cute and adorable. I have nothing on the docket as far as schedule tomorrow, but what I want to do is I want to do at least 4 hours of studying. So study POMO 1, study POMO 2, study. So would people be interested in me, like, would you be interested in me talking about the tools that I'm using to study? Because I have, it's been a long time since I've really had to study anything other than languages. And it has been interesting beyond like having to cram for a show or whatever, but actually studying for like an exam. Haven't done it in so long, and the tools have changed a ton. And I think I've got a pretty good system worked out. I don't know. Would it be interesting? I'm also very interested in the economics of like the study with me stream world. Like these people that put up 7-hour-long streams of just them studying. That's just like them in a room. And then they play lo-fi music on it or whatever. And they're getting like ad revenue on these breaks on these. So yeah. Pixie Dust says, I would be interested in the language learning. Well, I'm always happy to talk about what I use as my language learning tools, but I'm focusing right now on studying for an exam. And so a lot of the tools I'm using can be used for language learning, but a lot of them are much more specific to like lifetime learning, like spaced repetition, taking notes and stuff like that. But yeah, I can also talk about the apps that I use for language learning. I've used Quizlet for years for my flashcards for language learning because one thing I really like is they have a lot of built-in voices that are for different languages that will pronounce the words for you. So it's very good if you need to practice like diction, which I found extremely helpful with Croatian. Croatian and German are both languages where all the words are 100% pronounced the way they're spelled. So it's unlike English where diction can be really hard because the words sound the same. Croatian, I was learning new letters of the alphabet, new sounds for me. And because of that, I found it very, very helpful to get it to speak the things, and then I had to write them out. So yeah. Fuzzbubble says that they would also be interested in the learning info. That's good. Okay, so I need to call my copay card and update insurance info. Then I need to call pharmacy because they haven't called me yet, and I need to do the specialty pharmacy, so I had to enroll in yet another specialty pharmacy for my stupid $10,000 drug. Okay, so I have to edit video. I probably need to film certain parts because I did not film all of it. And then I should post on Instagram. What other weird lingering things? Oh. If possible, I will prep slides for Thursday. I've taught this workshop like, I don't know, 4 times to this thing, but it is a 4.5-hour workshop, so it's always good to check. And then do podcast promo stuff. That's probably going to take all day. Let's see. Okay. 50 minutes, 50 minutes, 50 minutes, 50 minutes. Let's say this usually takes a surprisingly long time. 20 minutes. Call pharmacy, maybe 15. That may be optimistic. Edit video is going to take 3 hours. Film certain parts, probably another hour. It's not a very long video. Instagram, 30 minutes. Prep slides for Thursday, probably 1 hour. And then podcast promo stuff, 2 hours. So altogether, that is doable. Pixie Dust is learning Spanish right now because you want to move to Mexico or Puerto Rico. Yes. I hate Duolingo though. So the app I use so Croatian's not on Duolingo. Also, one thing I will say is, I don't know if you have used Duolingo recently, but they've just done a huge number of updates to the app. And for example, I am very, very casually learning Arabic. Right now I'm mostly working my way through the letters and being able to recognize and write the script. And they used to just not have any of this. Like, it used to just be full immersion. They've done a ton of updates, is what I want to say about it. For me, it works really well because I, unfortunately, for better or worse, really think in streaks. So the other app I have that I use that's kind of in the same camp, if you also like some of the gamification, but I like the voices a lot better for this one, and it has a lot more rare languages, which obviously is not a problem with Spanish, but this one has Croatian, and it's called Ling, and it's native speakers pronouncing. So I found it really helpful, but the biggest, coolest benefit was that you can hear a native speaker pronounce something for you. And then you record yourself pronouncing it, and it judges how close you are, but you get to go back and forth between your pronunciation and the native speaker's pronunciation, and actually hear it, which is always been a thing. Duolingo, just like, whatever, I get lazy with my German pronunciation, which is way better than my Croatian pronunciation. So yeah. My main issue is the focus on getting pronouns and stuff perfect when that's not super important to being understood. I would say that Duolingo is kind of the opposite from that. Is like, I think it's far more focused on just jumping in and making yourself known. But if you want to do the like full immersion, that's more like learn full sentences and not grammar. For me, all I really care about with German is understanding, like, my level is like more on building higher level vocabulary and getting a lot better at grammar. And then obviously pronunciation is always a big deal for me because I have a very strong, very, very strong American accent. For me, Duolingo is frustrating because I don't think it gets enough into the higher level grammatical concepts that I need. But a lot of people really swear by Lingu, which is live classes that you can do. So it's like, would be like an hour a day, but it's actually immersive with an instructor. I found that way more helpful for Croatian. I had 2 hours of one-on-one tutoring in my Croatian class with instructors from University of Zagreb every week. And that made so much difference. And I definitely got way better at Croatian way faster. I've also lost a lot of it since I stopped having that. And because I don't have Duolingo for maintenance, like, for me, Duolingo is more about maintaining what I already know and making sure that I'm like constantly staying up on it before I enrolled in a class. But if you want to focus on learning vocabulary, there's a bunch of spaced repetition apps out there for flashcards, and there's tons of Anki decks out there as well. So, and then the other one that a lot of people recommend that's more immersion is Pimsleur. I don't like the Pimsleur method. I am not good at listening to audio and then just like repronouncing it and reproducing it. But a lot of people like Pimsleur because it's more kind of like the dive in style, just for functional discussion. Oh, I forgot the one last thing that we need to do. Should I try another thing? I don't know if I can eat that much more donut. Oh, and I ate the donut, so now I can't draw the... I ate the donut before I drew it. Here we go. I know it was pink, though. It was pink with little dots. Little black dots. I love how all the donuts end up looking pretty much the same when I draw them because I am not particularly talented artist. Yeah, the book I swear by, though, for German, if anybody else is learning German, is this book just called German Grammar Drills, but actually it's more functional than our darn textbook for our freaking German class, because our textbook is just a workbook and it doesn't explain any of the rules. It just, like, throws you into things. Which, like, obviously we have an instructor, but I find the German grammar drills to be way more useful. Okay. I think that might be it for the week. What time are we at? We didn't go for 2 hours. Well, how are people doing? Let's vamp for another half an hour. How are people doing? How's your week going? I keep feeling like I definitely have forgotten things I need to do this week. My week looks so empty. I just keep looking at it and being like, but then I remember that that's like 5 hours of doing workshops, a German class, and then I've got to somehow fit like 30 hours of studying in there and releasing a video and a podcast. So, Craig says, my favorite way to study for major certification exams has been with practice tests. Curious to hear what works for you. Okay, I will probably do that. So I am using a certification course that is almost entirely practice exam questions. It's really great because it tracks like how I do. It has this massive exam manual that's like particular to it. So it is, I think, very I think it's been really helpful because I had to learn about how to take the test, because I don't come from a background of having to take multiple choice exams, especially ones where the questions are just designed to trip you up. Like, a ton of the questions are just like, you will use multiple double negatives in both an answer and a question in order to like confuse you, and just stuff that I feel like is annoying because I feel like it's just trying to be hard in ways that aren't proving that you know the thing, but that you can closely read regulations that are not. I don't know. I find it a little frustrating. So I have found it really, really helpful. I will also say I was getting really discouraged because I wasn't getting the results I wanted on some of the practices. Like, I was hovering in the like high 70s and low 80%, which I felt like, oh, this is so frustrating. I've been studying this like registration stuff for so long. And then last Monday, I broke into the chapter that was on macroeconomic trends and then like business cycles and everything. And I was scoring like 95 to 100% on all of my practice exams for all of those. And that boost helped me so much, because I just needed to do the macroeconomics chapter, because this is macroeconomics for a financial advisor licensing exam. And so it's like a tiny portion of the macroeconomics I learned in a 4-year degree in economics. Like, I was a summer research fellow for a professor doing research for the International Monetary Fund, who is a macroeconomist who now works for the Federal Reserve. And so one small portion, like 6 questions on this 150 question exam or whatever, being devoted to it. Yeah. Fuzzbubble says, I've been trying to move my IRA between online accounts, and every time between submitting and moving, the amount drops below what I said to move, and it won't transfer. Very frustrating. Oh my God, that's so frustrating. I unfortunately decided it was time to roll over my 401k right as the market dropped. And because I left my job at the end of last year and I just got like access to do the rollover, and I was like, if I had just done it 2 weeks earlier, I mean, my market timing is a fool's errand, whatever. But it was a little frustrating. And I also find the 401k process to be agonizingly stupid, because they are going to mail me a check that I then need to be terrified until it goes to its final destination. And they wouldn't just mail it directly to Vanguard, which is where I have my rollover IRA at. Very frustrating. Erin says, sounds like you need a planner to plan all of those things you need to fit into the week. There is part of me that was thinking, should I actually plan the time out in the week here? I like to use this more to reflect how I spent my time than to plan stuff out, because I don't like to have it be inaccurate, but that's just a me problem. I don't like to do the time blocking ahead of time. Are we having little sneezes, Dora? We have a Flu for the Week theme song now, and it's great, but we don't have a Flu for the Week. So I don't know if we should just introduce the Flu for the Week as Dora and switch to Cat Cam. Maggie into Woods, I really feel like I did a hot financial take this week. I just don't think it should be. Having been mired in these regulations for broker-dealers and providers and everything for this exam that I'm studying for, I just feel like it's absolutely outrageous that they are even allowed to mail you the check, because you're the one who, then why? You're not taking custody of the funds. If you're not taking custody of the funds, they should mail it to the other provider. There's so many regulations on them, and I don't understand why they mail it directly to you. I'm trying this cookie that my parents brought me. It's a vegan thumbprint cookie. I don't know if I can eat a donut and this as well. We'll see. Should I introduce my own cat as Flu for the Week? All right, let's do it. Here's Flu for the Week, which is... This is Dora. She's our Flu for the Week this week. She is a very tired kitten. Did we lose everybody on the stream after that Flu for the Week song? Jenny says, this week was a write-off for me. My mom, who lives alone far away from me, got COVID, and I've been worried all week. She's doing better. Oh, I'm glad she's doing better. Here's a cat to make you feel better. I'm sorry it was a write-off for you. I had a lot of body pain this week, and I didn't get as much physical activity as I normally would. I had a lot of shoulder pain, which is being addressed through physical therapy, but it's not immediate. So I understand the feeling of it kind of being a write-off. Craig loves the theme song and intro. Great. This is the handiwork of Erin. She's trying to decide if she cares enough to get that sparkly ball that was thrown onto her. She's weighing her options. Nope, not worth the effort. That cookie was good, but compared to the Pop-Tart donut, it was really... I should have started with that and then ended with the Pop-Tart donut. Pop-Tart donut was good. Lots of people like your chaotic intro, Erin. Well, it's better than me just singing a different tune to Flu for the Week every week. By the way, if you are a member of the Personal Finance Society, which are our patrons, which you can find down there, it's ohmydollar.com/support or patreon.com/ohmydollar. Anyway, if you are a member of the Personal Finance Society and you have not had your flu featured on Flu for the Week yet, please click the link in your Patreon updates to submit a Flu for the Week. Send them in to email. I am in need of more floofs. So. Lil Divette says, now you have to draw the cookie. I keep making it so I have to draw stuff after I eat it. And it's way harder without a reference. Now there's nowhere to put it. I'll just put like a tiny cookie here. I obey. See? I will obey. Oh, I need to say that this is a Pop-Tart donut. because I won't know based on my drawing. And then thumb cookie? What color was it in the middle? It was like dark purple. I have a pink light in the background here, so I keep trying to grab purple colored pencils, and they keep being blue because the pink light is making them look purple. The cookie drawing looks like a donut. All the donuts look the same, Erin. I don't have these skills. Is this one? Ha! Finally, one is purple. This is how many blue ones I grabbed trying to get a purple one. There we go. Yes, it does look like a donut because, I mean, it did kind of look like a tiny donut anyway, so. All right, y'all. Well, thank you for coming to join. I feel like the plan with me took way less time this time, but look at all of my beautiful Federal Reserve notes I did for you. I hope that anybody that was scared and freaking out about what was happening with the stock market last week feels a little bit more reassured. I just want you to know it's not a big deal. It definitely was a correction, and we may have some bad economic times to come as they have to raise interest rates to control inflation. That being said, from the perspective of your portfolio, just don't freak out. And if you are someone with a hard stomach that is willing to see that your portfolio, your 401k might be going down, but you have the hard stomach to actually buy when things on sale, that's a great time to buy. It's like the act of going to, you know, if you can go to like the closeout sale at Ross and get a bunch of stuff while it's on sale, and then in a year and a half when it gets worn on some show and the price goes way up, you can sell it on Poshmark for a lot more money than you paid for, and that is what we were trying to do with stocks. So, not to make everything just a clothing analogy, but that's really the only thing I resell other than stocks. Well, I mean it this time. I will have a regular video on this channel prior to next week. And if I don't by next week's stream, y'all are allowed to come up with a suitable punishment for me. I don't know what it would be, but you can come up with a punishment for me if there is not a video of some sort on this channel by next week's live stream. So thank you all for joining for this plan with me / economics freak out. What are you most looking forward to this week? If anybody has anything good going on this week, I'm really excited to teach 2 workshops, even though I'm sure I'm going to be exhausted after teaching a 4.5-hour workshop on finances on Thursday. Both my workshops this week are paid, although one of them is for one of my pay it forward. So I do a lot of workshops with homeless transitional youth and the AIDS hospice in town around finances as part of like my charity work. And all of the books are provided by patrons and the Pay It Forward. So people can buy a copy of my book and then donate one to the Pay It Forward program. And then I donate my time to teach the workshops to deliver the books, which has been a great way to like, it's just like a low key way of doing work that I want to do. But every year, I actually teach to the AmeriCorps alums who qualify for the free books because they get paid literal pennies. As a former AmeriCorps, I can attest to this. They peg you at the federal poverty rate. That's how much you make in AmeriCorps. But because AmeriCorps is a government program, they are actually able to pay me for my time. So I donate the books to the AmeriCorps members, but then the actual federal government via Educational Service District 112, which is how AmeriCorps money is allocated, pays me, which is why it's a little easier to do a 4.5-hour workshop. I don't get paid a king's ransom, but I get paid more for that 4.5-hour workshop than I did for about 3 weeks of work every week in AmeriCorps. Because when I was in AmeriCorps, you made $800 a month. So, yeah. Aaron Parecki says, I'm also teaching 2 workshops this week. First ones for the year. Oh, right. You haven't done any yet this year. We both teach a lot of workshops in this house, but January is not really Aaron's busy season, and January is 100% my busy season. I get like big peaks in January, April for financial literacy month and tax season, and then September, like back to school, and then like the rest of the year I do far fewer workshops. So Kenneth says, I might kick a few bucks into my stocks. Thanks. Good. I'm glad that I left people with the idea that it is a great time to kick a few bucks into that. Maggie in DeWood says, shoulder pain is my whole life right now, as well as a mad busy upcoming work week. I can't miss. Oh, I'm so sorry. Well, I wish you much strength with the resistance bands, I'm sure, in your future. I have one of those like massager things that it doesn't really, it just like punches you with tiny rolling balls when you plug in. And I had to sit with that for like 45 minutes this morning to really be able to get anything going on with my, it's just like, yeah, it's very cranky. It's frustrating because I have the PT and theoretically I'm slowly strengthening the mid abductors and the subscapular muscles that I essentially like don't have, and the other muscles are overcompensating, but it's just very slow. And it's very frustrating. So, Amex Cage says, nothing good happening this weekend but bubble tea. Bubble tea is pretty good. I mean, it sounds great. I support that. Okay, well, I will see you all next week. Should be the same time, 5 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Eastern, unless we decide to start doing that trial of the 4 p.m. And I think next week we are going to be doing a show on this weird new age crypto and what that kind of looks like. But if not, it'll probably be on Britney Spears. So, thank you all for joining. Have a great one. Thanks, Craig. Thanks, Maggie. Long live the resistance bands. Oh. All right, stay hydrated. Pet a cat if you have one available, and see you next week. Bye.